Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to The Mob. It is Live with The Mob with Daniel, Craig, and Joey.
All right, we are back. We are live in The Mob this week. We have with us, Frank Romano, stick shift legend from Drag Week. Frank, how are you this week?
Very well, Daniel. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. Craig and Joey, how are you guys?
Doing great.
I'm doing great, Daniel, and I just really want to say welcome to the legendary Frank Romano and the beautiful 55 sedan. But we'll get there.
Sedan. Well, you kind of got to understand here a little bit, Frank. We've got a little bit of an argument going on, and in the group, it's hardtops and sedans. What's better? And usually I'm outnumbered because Craig and Joey, they're both hardtop guys. I'm a sedan guy. Well, I've got the help here this week, Frank Romano. He's a fellow hardtop guy. So, in all honesty, Frank, what's your thought? Is a hardtop better than a sedan, or a sedan better than a hardtop?
It depends what I own. I happen to own a sedan, so right. I ended up with it. I don't have a preference.
Yeah.
What's better, a blonde or a brunette? I don't. It's up to the person. I think honestly, hardtops are problematic with the flaps and all of that stuff. But that's what I set out to get originally when I was younger. I actually wanted a 57 because I felt like the 57 is a more versatile car. I think the 55 is just a tougher looking car, period. I think out of the three, the 55 has more raw appeal. And I think the simplicity has a lot to do with that. The 57, I think you could pretty much do anything with a 57. And if you do it right, it's going to look killer. I'm not a fan of like pro touring 55s. I haven't seen one that just, knocked my eyes out. So
Right.
I think, for me, the sedan works as long as you're paying attention. You don't smash your eye on the corner of the door.
Yeah.
Right. Simpler guys like these two thick hillbillies over here, they probably better off with the hardtop so they don't smash their face.
Well, Craig's real close to Canada there, so he's a Minnesota boy.
Minnesota.
Oh, Jesus Christ, I'll tell you that right now. We'll talk about hot dish and everything else. Yeah, Jesus. You guys start baling hay yet, or what? What's going on up there? What's that? Do you guys start baling hay yet up there? You're about another 4 to 6 weeks, and then they're going to start the fields. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We feed America. Don't worry about it. We feed America. I'm thankful. And their animals. Right? Love farmers. Got to. That's the backbone. Well, that's where I started driving at 9 years old. Was in like a 76 Datsun with no windows, no doors, and had a little 4-speed. And we went out in the field and we just played Dukes of Hazzard, avoiding hay bales, and that's what we did. That's how we learned to drive. That's the farm.
3-speed on the column.
What's that?
Yep. I said I learned. So I'm from Texas. So I'm the redneck from Texas. But yeah, I learned how to drive with a 66. Long wheelbase, straight 6, 3 on the tree. That's what I learned to drive. So, and I'm kind of the oddball because I'm the 56 guy. Everybody here is a 55, but yeah, my dad was a 56 guy, so I'm a 56 guy. So, my buddy Glenn Hunter, who should do the show, he's got probably one of the most badass 56s in the country. Him and Joe Barry, 2 drag week guys.
Yeah.
Yep. Both killer, both done very, very well. I love 50s. I love them all. I really do. The 3 shoe boxes, they're, set apart. That's the whole key thing to everything that we do here is the fact, like, yeah, I've got a 55. Joey's got a 56. We've got many guys with 57. It's truly just the love of the shoebox cars. And as much as we give each other crap, like, yeah,
I'm very picky about straight bumpers and flippers. I made sure my bumpers were straight, my flippers are working, because we're at the Nationals, and you watch people drive by and they got $80,000 cars without flippers working. It drives me nuts. My OCD kicks in. But I have as much appreciation, excuse me, much appreciation for the gassers, for the grandpa, the grandpa hubcap versions, everything original, whatever somebody wants. It's the love of what we do. So what we do is, as I can tell already, what banter is, and that's what we do, is give the banter out, and so. And that's where it comes from. So and we had Joe Barry on here too, and we asked him the same question about hardtop versus sedan, and it's just something that we do. And I've told this before. I started it on Facebook group pages, probably 8 years ago. Somebody posted up a picture of their hardtop. I go, yeah, hardtops rule. Then all of a sudden you get all these guys hating me. What do you mean hardtops rule? Sedans are better. I'm like, dude, it's a joke. It's just a saying, so it is what it is. But who knows? What part? Tell everybody what part of the country you're from, Frank.
Heidelberg, Germany, originally. That's the part of the country I'm from. But I grew up on Long Island, and I moved to Massachusetts when I was a teenager. I finished school up there, and I came back a few years later. But I actually did bale hay up there in Massachusetts. So
there you go.
I know something about hay.
A little bit of hard work never hurt anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, not too much, but a little.
Yeah, that's all right. You were smart enough to quit. A lot of the farmers aren't smart enough to quit and get out when they can, So, and God bless them. So,
yeah.
Who knows?
So tell us a little bit about your 55. What drew you to the 55 initially? Was it was a car that was a family car like Craig and Joey's, or was it the little old lady barn find, or was it just like, oh, there's this car available, I'm going to buy it and turn it into a 9-second big block stick shift?
None of the above. So I have a friend, this guy Glenn Visconti, and he is a real true car guy. He's been in my life, I don't know, 30 years, close with his brother and his wife. And he calls me up one day, and I would say this was it was 93. Okay. I was on my way to hunt in Alaska with my father, like that week. And he calls me up. He says, hey, there's a 55 for sale in Farmingdale. I said, I don't want a 55. I want a 57. And I don't like the wheel wells on the 55. I don't like that square wheel well. I like the teardrop wheel well. Right. And he said to me, listen, you have no idea what a rare car this is. You will never see a clean 55 like this again in your life. The car is a Long Island car. Trust me, you got to go look at it. And at the time, I probably had 2 or 3 cars in various stages of completion. I did not need another car. But, he just pushed and pushed. And I hung up the phone. He called me back a little while later. Did you go? Did you call? So I did go, and I saw the car, and it was everything he said it was. It was a rock solid car. And I looked it over. It was originally a black car with a blue garbadine interior. The interior was in okay original shape, and the paint was also in okay original shape. Somebody painted, I don't know if it was the original owner, the top of the car white, and the trunk, like a Bel Air two-tone. Didn't do a very good job. But this guy tells me, he says, I got to sell the car because my wife wrecked her car. We got 2 young kids, and I just got to get rid of it. And the price was $5,800. And that was a lot of money to me in 93. And I had a new business, a young daughter. It was about 2 years old. And I was the only one working in the family. And I said, I said, listen, I'll tell you what, I'll give you $4,000 for the car. If you want it, take it or leave it. And I ended up with the car. And so I kind of ended up with it by default. I didn't really seek it out.
Right.
And there was a class called Hot Street in NMCA, which was small block only. No power adders, and I was just nuts over this class. And I don't know how far you want me to go with this explanation.
No, keep going.
I'm eating up the clock here. Okay, so
no, you're fine.
Okay, my engine builder, Scott Merkel, his dad's well-known, Jack Merkel. He was held a lot of records in the '60s, and I went to him and I said, listen, Scott, I have this car. I have this idea. I want to build a small block. And he knew I was a stick driver. And he said, yeah, he said, you can drive. He said, we can probably build you a small block that we should be able to put you in I think it was a 930 range. And at the time, or no, that's where they were. He said, we could build you a small block. We'll get you down in the low nines, high eight range. He looked at the rules and stuff. And then I brought the car in to my chassis guys, and they worked on the cage over the winter. And by that next spring, the index dropped from 930 to 870. And I went back to him and I showed him what was happening. And he said, yeah, that's kind of what we were planning on doing for you. He said somebody figured out that there was, that was a soft class. And he said, I don't think we can really make you competitive. And I said, all right. So, I built a small block. My friend Sean and I built a small block, and I put a Jericho DR4 in the car.
Right.
And the car was, even with the small block, it was very heavy, closing in on 4,000 pounds. And it went 12 O's, pump gas, no nitrous, no nothing. Full interior, all steel, all glass, not one thing to lighten the car. But then as time went on, you know what happens. That's never enough. It's never enough.
You take weight out of it and start building
Nah,
more power.
I never wanted to take weight out of it. I just don't want the car. It's too easy to go that route, to make the car look like a race car.
Well, and I mean, when I talk about taking weight out, I mean taking weight out in places that you can do it, like taking the sound deadener out of the doors and out of the quarters, take all the undercoat off from underneath the car, all that kind of stuff.
I've done none of that.
Really?
Not one thing. I added power windows and power steering, and today with a big block, it weighs. I mean, with a full tank of gas, it's over 4,000, but it's always right around 4,000. With enough fuel to make a pass, it's around 3980 to 4,000, right in there.
Okay. Now I see, like in my car, like I says, I took out like the sound deadener and the sound deadener out of the quarters, took all the undercoating off. I spent like a week underneath of my car sandblasting and cleaning all the undercoat and everything, and then I just painted the bottom of the car body color. But with me, and I still got the factory bench seat and everything, and my car's 3310, with a 10-point cage in it. So
small block?
Small block, yeah. So with a big block, obviously you're what was it, like 300-400 pounds heavier, if I remember right?
I don't know, because I have an aluminum big block in there now.
Okay. Oh, well, so, hey, that's cool. Aluminum big block. Now that's pretty cool. So as things go, the car progressed from a small block into the big block. What was the turning point to make you go from being in the small block to going into the big block?
So I purchased a 1970 L78 Camaro from an estate. I knew the car for many, many years, and that car was a 1 of 600 car, with originally equipped with a 375 horse 396. It was actually a 402, but I knew this car for many, many years, and I finally had the chance to buy it in 2006. And the car sat around in a garage. I didn't do much with it. Really deserved the restoration, but I just didn't have the time in my life to do it. Mm-hmm. And it had this 509 in there that was healthy. It was like maybe like 660 horsepower, something like that. And so I just called my friend Bob and Whitey, and I said, listen, I'm thinking about taking that motor out of there. I'm not going to use it in that car anyway.
Right.
And it's pretty fresh, and just can we shoehorn it into the 55? And these guys are really craftsmen. They really take a lot of pride in their work. I get a lot of times people don't even realize my car has a cage when they first meet the car. They come up to the car and they realize after they're basically in the car with their head in the window, like, holy shit, this car has a cage. I mean, they take a lot of time to hide everything and keep it neat and clean. And they had the car for a minute, and they put the 509 in there because I had it and because I could. And immediately the car was, low 11s, just by doing that. Shaved off almost 2 seconds putting that motor in the car.
Right.
And
I know a
then,
lot. Yeah, I know.
say,
I wish you would talk a little bit about, so some of the guys here want to know, how to shoehorn a big block in there. There's all different ways. Some people are notching the firewall, some people are moving the motor forward, you
yeah.
know, 2 3/4 inches, and trying to do the center link, with that. I mean, on your car, um, how did you do that? And, were you able to keep the motor back, or, how did you
So
do it on yours?
we did not touch the firewall. Actually, there might be a small dimple over by the passenger side valve cover. I don't even
Hmm.
think so. That might have
Right.
been anyway. No, they actually cut the cross member up front. They kind of shrunk it down
Okay.
in height, and they were able to drop the motor down and back,
Okay.
and make most big blocks that you see under the hood of a 55 are very high. They're very high in the
Right.
car and
Right.
usually very far forward. Um, I wish I'd have paid more attention, but my engine is pretty far back. I always want it a little further back, but I
Hmm.
have no issues taking the valve covers. So I have big, Chevy bow tie cast aluminum valve
Yeah.
covers. I have no trouble taking the valve covers off. So these guys, they come from the aerospace space industry, and they just do things to a high level of detail, and they think things through, and they
Mm-hmm.
made it serviceable. So that's a pretty much a constant argument with Bobby and I. He's my chassis builder and fabricator, and my friend, a close friend for many years. Um, he always says, let's make it serviceable. Let's make it user friendly. And me, I want to hide everything. I want you to look at my car and you don't even know it's got anything going on. The race pack is up near where the visor would be. So most people don't know, it has a stock dash. It has no tack on the dash, no shift light. The shift light's in the glove box. Um, I open the glove box when I race. I try to keep everything very clean and simple, and
That's
Bob
cool.
always makes everything serviceable. So the engine is as far back as it can be and still be very functional, and it's very low in the car. And I have room up front, so they made it fit by cutting the front cross member probably in half, if not more. And then I had a rack made for the car,
Okay.
sweet manufacturing. And the reason we did that, Bob knew about that there was companies that make them to whip. So that's the criteria you need for that to work properly is that it works on the same plane and has the same pivot points as the lower A arm.
Right.
I may, somebody may correct me on this. I'm not an expert. This is not my area of expertise, but that's the gist of it. And so we made the rack so that it has virtually no bump steer in it. So the car drives really nice. It's easy to drive. The only thing I will say is the turning radius suffers because they made control arms um, for the car, and they had to make them a little longer than the original one. So by doing that, you lose some turning radius. Not control, steering arms, not control arms,
Steering arms.
steering
Okay.
arms. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wish I had some way to show that, but
I'm
in
Yeah.
any event,
I'm be honest. I'm looking at photos from the Motor Trend article on your car, and I'm looking at your engine bay, and you know you've got the shoehorn 509 in there. It's super clean, but it's not very often you see a drag week car with an electric windshield wiper motor sitting perfectly behind the motor. I can't even fit my wiper motor in. That thing fits perfectly. And I'm not sure what they're called, Daniel. You'll know this. The dust gaskets or the dust covers over the wheel openings over the control arms and stuff.
Yeah. The
The
rubber.
stock 50. Yeah, you've even got those on. Most people don't even bother to ever put those back on, and I mean they look clean. You've done things right, so I mean it's pretty impressive.
thank you.
Yeah.
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 Keep it simple, keep it clean. They have a function too. I mean, all the rubber between inner fender, and all that stuff's in place. You know, all those
Yep.
screws, everything's there. You know, all the bumper brackets, everything's there.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the things that I really like about your car is it's so clean and everything's there, you know, and it's, in all honesty, you get an average person come up and look at it, and they look and they say, okay, that's, you know, that's a 55 Chevy, and they don't really look at, you know, wow, he's done a whole bunch of work to it. They look at it and they say, well, that all looks stock, so, you know, so
Yep.
they don't really see,
Well,
you know.
Well, but people that really understand it either have done it themselves, appreciate it, and that's what you look at, you know, because they'll be the ones that will look at such a clean job or at maybe ask questions how to do it. So some people don't see that, you know. I mean, like me wiring, I like to hide my wiring, you know, just because I don't want a bunch of wiring around there. So it's just, you know, what you look for, and you'll have some like, man, that's really clean, and some people won't notice it at all. So um, yeah, but you're right, though. Some people look at them as differently,
I
for
mean,
sure.
so many of the cars, as Joey and I just got back from Drive 5 Nationals, and you're online and everything, and you look at all these cars, and so many people are worried about, and it's great if you want to take the time to custom the firewall, smooth the firewall, get rid of stuff that doesn't need. And I know that I didn't do my body work, but the guy did my body work. He took a lot of holes out that weren't needed and cleaned it up, but it's still basically original firewall. And you've even got a couple of the wiring clips still on your firing wall, or your firing wall firewall, and it's like they're still there. Where so many guys are concerned about this beautiful firewall, and I'm like, if I could do mine again, honestly, I would do like almost like a bed liner coating or something tough back there. So when wrenches are flying, I don't smack the firewall and worry about it so much. So to see, I mean, it's a clean car. You've done all this, but there's still a clip on there. Why didn't you take that wiring clip? Because there's no wires there, but it's part of the car. That's the way it was.
You might be looking at old pictures. I know
Okay.
there's clips on the firewall that I'm using. So
Okay.
the sensor, or I don't know what they're called, if they're called sensors, but stuff of the race pack is routed through there. At different times, I've had those clips have served different functions. And yeah, maybe
Sure.
there's one there that's not being used currently, but they were put there for a reason. There's no. It's like,
Mm.
you know, buying a house and pulling all the nails, or pulling all of the nails out of the beams where stuff used to hang. You know, and I bought a house a couple of years ago, and I pretty much left everything as it was because it serves a purpose. You know,
Yeah.
Right.
I think that it's just a different look, right? I can appreciate the guy that polishes every single thing on the car. I don't want to work at that level, but I can appreciate a guy that takes the time and the energy to polish everything and to eliminate the holes and do all that. Um, but I also like the functionality of it and the rawness of it, and the way I didn't refine too many things. I just, you know, the
Yep.
body work is nice on the car. The car, you know, listen, the car gets used. I mean, drag week is not a gentle event. And, you know, in the early days of drag week, we were doing these huge drives, and a lot of really not great roads and stuff. And the car has scars on it. It has chips and it has scratches and it has things. But I got to tell you, you know, all of those chips, all of those scratches, those represents moments in time. Like, you know, this represents, you know, being in Topeka, Kansas, and you know, this represents the time we got lost in the middle of the night, you know, and the clutch pivot ball broke off the bracket, and you know, basically had no clutch going 85 miles an hour past the tractor, and we were trying to fix it in the pitch black next to a cornfield, and you know, I got a chip on the top of the fender. And so there's this Japanese thing called wabi sabi. It's like those earned wear marks that you get over time. And I decided I was just gonna try to take care of the car to the best of my ability, but not to try to, you know, erase everything that General Motors did, and not try to, you know, spruce it up you know, repaint the car every season. The car's been on 10 drag weeks and a Summit Midwest drag and all the other racing and street driving I do, and it's very presentable, far from perfect, but you know, I try to stay on top of the little things and not let them add up. But the trunk too. A trunk is another area. It's just a trunk. You know, I did 415 on it, whatever,
Yeah,
many years ago, and it's just the way it was.
right.
Well,
So,
I will say, like I built a car to do drag week, and I just think it's kind of like an Iron Man type thing, and I've got friends that do it. John Dodson,
Oh yeah, I know John.
him and Jason Dozier, or and they try to do a Texas, and so I just think that that, and Scott with the 53, the Capone car and all that, I just it truly is an Ironman type event, and you're always going to have you know the upper echelon cars, but it's about making memories and doing that. I just my car is just freshly painted, and I'm going to do a few things with it, but at the end of the day, it's still a tool. I still
Yeah.
want it to look good, and but you're right, you have to build it to where you can see things. There's a balance between that, but it also has credits, like your car, street credits. I mean, that many of those events. I mean, it's if you're into that, some people are not into that. They want trailer queens or whatever. I'm going to go look at the guy that's got a dent in his floorboard from pushing the accelerator down. That's what what I mean. That's
Yeah.
what's impressive to me. So make it fast. But like Craig says, I appreciate other things too of all the cars, but naturally I'm going to gravitate towards things that sit good and sound good and work. You know.
Daniel found some pictures of my car, and I'm glad you did because I couldn't remember who took those shots. There's one we're going down. Stingray Photography took that picture where we're
right.
rolling down some street in the middle of Ohio or Indiana somewhere with the silver trailer behind me, the big silver trailer
Yeah.
that was Bryant Goldstone's trailer that he sold to another drag weeker, Jason Rousseau. My buddy Joe calls him Inspector Rousseau, and we borrowed it. We borrowed that trailer for the week, and that picture right there of us going down some, just Main Street in some, town in the Midwest. That's one of my favorite pictures of my car, and I'm glad you found that and
Yeah.
posted that.
Now, now I have a question. You can't quite see it at the moment, but I'm transferring over and changing the screen here. There's a picture of you from 2017 holding a trophy that's got a bunch of transmission parts and everything. Tell us a little bit about what it took to, I don't know, did they call you Mr. Shifty, or was there a specific title with that trophy that you got back in 2017?
No, there's no moniker that goes with it. Don
Was it?
McGinnis likes to say shit like that about me, give me names, but no, that's a trophy that I decided to make after we had Brent McCoy, who's a drag weeker, a great guy. We became friends, and he's a big stick shift driver. He's in Lee Summit, Missouri. He's done a lot of stick shift racing down there. And his friend Dominic, I forgot his last name, but he has a 70 Camaro, and he also has a really cool 55 Chevy as well. Um, when we were in Hebron, Ohio, I think it was 16, I think it was 16, maybe it was 17, was the first impromptu. We called it the stick shift shootout. And we basically gathered up uh, however many stick cars there were. I want to say it was around 10 cars, I think, initially.
So probably
And we just
Richard and John Puckett and
I'm not sure if Rich was at the very first one. Nate Hines, Jeff Sias, Randy Franklin, myself, Dominic. I forgot his last name. He had a 70 Camaro at that time. Um, uh, Andy Starr. I hate being put on the spot because I feel like I'm leaving out important
that's
people. Those are the most, to me, those are the most important people. Especially there and then, that all said yes to an impromptu stick shift shootout, and that was after a not easy week of drag week. This was done at the tail end of the day. Jeff
right.
Sias was trying to go for the championship in small block. It was street race or super street small block NA, and he was beating the ever loving shit out of that Mustang and we actually gave him the bye run, you know, to come race with us, because it was more important for him that night to try and, you know, go for the championship than it was to race in our event. But I wanted him there, and it turned out that it was Jeff and I in the final, and that to this day is the best and most exciting race of my entire life. We raced that night, and the ETs were 997.3 to a 997.9.
Yeah, close.
Yeah,
Now,
Brian Lones does an incredible job of announcing that race, and at the end of that race, you would think he won the race. Day 5 of Drag Week, Hebron, Ohio, 16 or 17. So over that winter, I got in touch with everybody, and I said, listen, I want to keep this going, and I want to make a trophy, and I want it to be like the Stanley Cup, where we just hand it off, you know, the winner of this year hands it up to the winner of next year, and so on. And so I asked everybody for any kind of shrapnel they had from some kind of stick shift event where they broke something.
right.
And then I welded that stuff together, and I put on, originally had I think it's called a 9310 Ram sintered iron puck style disc in my car in 2010 when I originally did Drag Week. And I still had it. I stripped all the sintered
All
iron pucks
centered
off
iron
this
off.
thing
Yeah.
in Pittsburgh, right before Jeff Lutz tried to drive off the end of the track with no parachute. That's a whole nother story. But anyway,
Right.
that's basically the bottom of that trophy, and the top of the trophy is a pistol grip handle that I broke off somewhere along the line. But in between that are pieces from Jeff Sias and Randy Franklin and Andy Starr and all these other guys, and we welded it together. And on the original, in the front paddle of that, on the Marcel of that thing, I engraved, you know, the date, SSS, stick shift shootout.
Mm-hmm.
F. Romano defeats Jeff Sias with the times on it, and that's what's happened each year. Is like the winner has engraved his name, and like Rich Guido ended up with the trophy. John Puckett John Puckett's had the trophy for 2 years because there was, you know, because of COVID, there was no race last year. But everybody tries to add something to that trophy, and it's just, you know, it's just something I did because I think it's a very exciting time and night for us because you know, we all know, like at the end of the week, this is what we're aiming for. I think last time out, we had probably 20 something cars, and
Right.
you know, not everybody's going to, you know, make it to the, you know, to the end, but it's exciting, and the people seem to love it. You know, usually my car on a good track will hang them pretty high, and John Puckett, he's got this Mercury Capri, and he stands that thing up.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's just super exciting. You know, stick shift racing to me is just the best.
My first experience with John Puckett was back, I think it was 17 or 18, when a local guy, Joey Heichel, started putting on the beater bomb. He started putting on no preps at our local track. And the year that I started getting into no prep racing, John Puckett showed up with his Capri. And, well, guess who I draw first round out of the chip basket? I draw John
Poor
Puckett.
bastard.
And I'm looking, I'm like, oh, it's a Mercury Capri. And a couple of my buddies come up to me and they're like, dude, that's John Puckett. He does drag week. That thing's been like 580s, 590s in the eighth. And I'm like, oh, crap. Like, man, I'm 7 O's in the eighth mile, you know, and I'm thinking my 55 is like, you know, it's TRW flat top 350 rebuild, you know. I'm thinking, yeah, this thing's pretty kick ass. And then I'm like, oh, this guy's Vortec YSI Coyote, and it's yeah, no, I got my butt handed to me. But out of that, you know, there's been a great friendship and relationship that's been built out of it, and I think that's a
Isn't this
lot of, you
where?
know, the
Hey,
stuff with cars and everything.
isn't isn't this where you put on the video of that race? I mean, so everybody can see that. Isn't that where you edit that and bring that in?
Uh, yeah, well, I don't have video of that race, and the video of that race is
Sure. Oh,
on 1320's YouTube, which I you know, I'd have to go
okay.
back and look for it. But there was actual a whole video just for John Puckett and the stick shift class, because they already started interviewing him like before the race even started, because they knew he was probably going to win it. I mean, they knew the guy, knew who he was, and yeah.
That's
So
great.
it was pretty cool and all, and me here, I'm just hoping for something. So like I try and take extra long to do my burnout, and John's just sitting over there, he's just rev tuning that supercharger and hear the thing rum psh, rum psh. It's like oh yeah, I'm done. So but
Yeah, and he's a very, I don't know how much you know about him personally, but he is a extremely focused individual.
oh yeah, he
He's
is.
he, it's very unlikely he's going to drop the ball on the 1 yard line.
Yeah, no, I tried everything I could, and it's not like I was trying to do staging battle or any of that. It was just trying the little tricks of the game here and there to try and, get that little advantage if I could,
That's
so.
you were postponing the inevitable, is what you
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go. Now keep revving that thing up. Maybe it'll blow a boot off of it or something. Like
yeah.
Hey, maybe if I wait here long enough, John will die of old age.
Yeah,
There you go.
Maybe it'll overheat.
Yeah. Maybe
No.
he'll forget or have a seizure.
yeah. So speaking of seizure, one of your more famous lines that I ever heard you say. So, and we'll see if you still use that same line. Is there any ever thought that you might put an automatic in the car?
I had a nightmare once that I looked in the window of my car and there was only 2 pedals. That's about it.
Well, I know
No.
the video.
Listen, I know that, and it's not a line. It was just that was at that moment in time, I had never said anything about having a seizure before that day. But Tom Taylor kind of knew, he knows me a bit,
Right.
and he knew how, committed I was. And I spoke the truth that day. I said, I'm maybe at this point in time, it's quite possible that an automatic built properly would make my car faster and more consistent. Never argued that. But we're talking about the visceral excitement of it and just the joy of being connected to the car in a way that a guy with an automatic is worth more to me than securing, or not even securing, but increasing the odds of success.
Right. Well,
I weigh those two things out, and it never adds up.
You and I
Well,
both know that the stick shift, where the automatic guys, they say stick shifts, it's hard to be consistent and whatnot. But in all honesty, you and I have probably both experienced the same thing, where the stick shift you can run very, very consistently with the stick shift.
Absolutely. And listen, I can tell you, I am frequently not the faster car in some of these shootouts and in some of the drag week stuff where you just line up with guys and they're just straight up faster than you. And I'm not talking about turbo guys like trying to build up boost on the starting line. Just guys with automatics, NA, nitrous, whatever, where I'm able to take advantage of the starting line.
Right.
And to me, I always find somebody in my class that I'm after. I'm usually between number 3 and number 5 or 6. Like, that's where I hang out. My class is in the high teens, 18, 19 to like 26. That's how many cars are in my class. And I'm usually in the top 6 between 3. I've taken home 3rd a couple of times, and I'm always in the top 3 to 6. So I always find a guy that's ahead of me that I'm after. And that's what keeps me excited. That's my co-pilot, Joe. He's done 9 of these things with me. That's where we set our sights. Like, we're gonna chase him.
Right.
We're gonna see if he drops the ball at any point or whatever. But when I get on the starting line, I figure that's where I can do as a driver. That's where I can give myself the best chance of winning. And frequently, that's how I win. So,
well, everybody always talks about, like I got a turbo car, and it's mile per hour. It's still an ET race, regardless, the 60 foot still got to be there. I mean, there are some advantages, with a nitrous as far as a 60 foot car. But at the end of the day, it's an ET race, so you're still going to have to get from point A to point B, and that's it. And people, you know, Daniel races, and you race, and I race, and so people get
I
so caught up in horsepower and
Boy, that was a
you.
slap in your face, huh?
Yeah.
you know,
Well, no, I mean Craig knows. Craig knows. I
I'm a
mean,
man, and you're a man, and Daniel's a man.
dude, I'm just cruising, hanging the freaking arms out the car. Fucking, that's what I do.
yeah, he's getting there. He's starting to learn. He actually, yeah, I
I
think
break
eventually.
shit.
I think, yeah, he does tear up stuff. I will say, I think, probably in the next life, he would probably get out there and he'd like, I think if he ever lined up a car at the strip, I think it would just be hooked. He would be hooked at it. You
No,
know,
I'd be hooked, but I raised 2 kids and a wife who takes all the
I
money,
know.
and she, God bless her, she let me build this car, right? But it's like, yeah, it's this is a cruiser. I built, it is what it is. So but if I had the time and money where I go, God, it'd be fun to go get something just to bang on. Heck yeah, I would be doing that, car wise.
Move to Texas. Hey, move to Texas and I'll help you with that.
Oh, I know you would. So I'm gonna go with a technical question for Frank, because
Hang on, I don't think he should be inviting any more people to Texas. You got enough problems. So many people are moving to
have you-
Texas right now.
Have you seen Minneapolis in the news? Right. So I'm gonna go with some technical questions for
Yeah.
Frank because I'm very interested, and they're probably really stupid and simple, but I don't know. Hydraulic or mechanical clutch?
Mechanical.
Is it just better for the racing, firmer, or
Just eliminating things that could go wrong. And if it's mechanical, there's a high probability that I can fix it. I can repair it if I need to on the road.
Right.
For example,
like
that pivot ball broke on the first drag week I went to. As I said, it broke on the road trying to pass a semi. And I didn't have a spare. So we drilled a hole with a hole saw through the inner fender well. And I put a snap-on screwdriver through the little saddle where the threaded end of the pivot ball would sit.
Right.
And I just put it through the Z-bar, and I finished drag week with the screwdriver zip tied in place, and actually went faster with the screwdriver. And David Freiberger from Hot Rod and many other things, now Roadkill, he said, yeah, because that thing was trying to break all week. I was saying, yeah, this thing was like just gold, and it didn't feel right all week. When it broke and I put the screwdriver, it was great. It was smoother.
Now
Right.
you're talking the pivot ball on the frame.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not on the block side, on the frame side.
Yeah.
And he said zip tie. I always say that.
Right.
Good race cars always have zip ties in them.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
I got the tool bag in my trunk. So if I break down, I got this wrench, I got that wrench, and yeah, I do have a 10 millimeter because the stupid nut on the back of the alternator is a 10 millimeter. But
Yeah.
I got a bag of zip ties.
Now
There
know
you
where
go.
your 10 millimeters at.
What's that?
I said
It's
you know
there.
where your 10 millimeters at. You know where it's at.
It's in that bag of goodies.
Yeah.
So, when obviously you're built, this is purpose driven. You like to drive on the street. You want to be able to go everywhere. You said it handles nice. Cooling issues. I can see you got a crosswell. Any cooling issues at all with that much power?
2 words: never, ever. Never, ever. And in fact, I was talking to my friend this afternoon, Rob Schmidt. This guy, Rob Schmidt, has been a friend of mine for many years. He's got a white 67 Chevelle, most badass 67 Chevelle out there. Big block Chevy, nitrous, G-Force 5-speed. He won the first ever pump gas drags down in Memphis. I was with him when he did that.
Okay.
He was talking about the car overheating and stuff, and I said, that's one thing. I bought this Be Cool radiator when we built the car, and it's got 2 killer fans in it, and I have an Edelbrock water pump, and my car, even in Texas, high 90-degree heat, slow driving through towns, never, ever went above 196.
Now
ever.
in Texas, was it slow driving because all them Texans out there on their horse riding slow out in the middle of the road and stuff?
Hey, horsepower is horsepower. Is all I'm going to tell you.
No, Daniel. It was not.
I always ask that question because these guys know that I am overheating problems all the time, and I'm trying to solve the issue, and I'm not getting a lot of help. So I always have to ask those questions, especially when you're putting out, the horsepower that you do. A lot of guys can put out horsepower, and they're always got cooling issues. Some say don't take the thermostat out, just put in the washer, or hey, you need a cross flow, or you need this, and there's a million deals. So especially with the limited amount of space in the Tri-5, which you have a lot of space under your hood, I was dumb enough to put in the air conditioning with the Hawaiian supercharger under the hood, no louvers, no cowl. And so we just got back from Kentucky, and Joey knows firsthand. I mean, I was running 210, taking it easy on the thing, and there's nothing I could do.
Well, blowers generate a lot of heat, right?
Yeah.
So that's
right.
that. I mean, I don't know what would happen to my car in that situation. It doesn't have high compression. Well, it has moderately high compression, 11 and change. But I just think the components I bought do the job. In other words, I just went to the last page. You know what I mean? I said, what's the top dog in this situation?
Right.
That's something that can take a lot of pleasure out of a car. Is like worrying about it overheating.
Yeah,
In my situation and most drag weakers' situation, the thing that you're worried about more than any other thing are lifters. That's what you worry about all week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm listening for the chirp, and I'm keeping my eye on fuel pressure, and that's about it. I don't want to be thinking about the temperature, and I never have had to. Thankfully.
Well, and I think an advantage that you have there is you have the aluminum block, so you got aluminum block, aluminum heads.
But but I had a steel block in there too,
and you didn't have any heating issue with that.
The car's never gotten hotter than 196, and that was brief. And we're driving. It's not like, I say this all the time. Everybody thinks they can do drag week, but when you bring an untested car, a car that's not driven for 8 to 12 hours continuously and only stopping for gas breaks, you really don't know the cumulative effect that has on a car. It's not only the water that's getting hot and the block that's getting hot. It's, the tires are getting hot. Everything on the car is getting hot. You're going over asphalt that's 150 degrees. Mm-hmm. The heat just permeates everything under the hood. The antenna is hot.
Right?
Everything is hot. And
you think about an alternator too. I mean, it's just taking heat soak and what that's doing to all your electronics and that stuff as well.
It's the most fun thing I've ever done with a car. Drag week is absolutely the most fun thing. The people I've met, the places I've seen. I've seen so much of this country out of the windshield of my '55 Chevy. I mean, I don't even know how many states. There's one of the drag week nerds probably knows every state we've been to. And I would love to know that. I keep saying one day I'm going to put all of the papers together with the checkpoints, and if they want you to drive a certain route, and I saved a bunch of those. I want to make some kind of scrapbook someday. But it's a great event. Usually I've had enough of my car when I get back from 5 days. Like one year, the first year or the second year I did it was like 1,440 miles in 5 days.
Golly.
So, and then 5 tracks, right? 5 days of beating the shit out of the car as well. So you find out all the weak spots, and the temperature of the car has never been one of them.
How hard is it on your?
Go ahead.
How hard is it on your? How hard is it on your body after 5 days?
It can be very hard, especially in the beginning when I was working, endlessly on the car. Like I remember the first year, my friend Ian came, and we got to the hotel. Now, mind you, the car was really not ready for this type of event. I shoehorned, Bob and Whitey shoehorned a big block in it. And I showed him the cover of this Hot Rod magazine that I had with Mike Crow on the cover. Mm-hmm. And I think it's at 600 horsepower, 16 miles per gallon. And that was it. I made up my mind when I saw that cover that I'm doing drag week. And I told Bobby, I said, listen, I'm going to do this event drag week. And I told him about it, what I had to do. And he just looked at me and he's like, you are not ready. And this car is not ready for an event like that. I said, yeah, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I was working, Ian and I worked, we probably did 20-hour days every day.
Right.
We got to a hotel one night at about 3:30 in the morning after breathing in exhaust fumes for 15 or 16 hours of driving. And I looked over the roof of the car and I said to him, hey, you think anybody's behind us? And we were just absolutely delirious. I'm sure I shortened my life by a couple of years breathing that shit in for a week. But physically, get up, rinse and repeat.
Yeah. Hey, I got a question. So this is kind of out of my realm, but these two guys are cookers. They know how to barbecue and smoke, and they're really good at it. So I don't know if you're a cooker or not, but what is your favorite? Give us a couple of your favorite meals or things you like to eat.
On drag week, buddy bars. Joe and I
Buddy
like to
bars?
eat buddy bars. Yeah. I like a steak. I'm a steak man. Lasagna.
Okay.
Which cut of steak? What's your favorite cut of steak?
Porterhouse is my favorite.
Porterhouse.
Ribeye, second favorite. And then I've been getting these sirloins from the butcher shop near my house, and they're killer. So right now, I had a porterhouse a couple of nights ago with some friends. My friend Patrick, he's from Delaware. He came up to visit with a friend of mine and I got a porterhouse for 2 for 1.
Nice.
So usually bring that home and chew on it around midnight before I go to bed.
Not every time I meet somebody from your neck of the woods, whether it's New Jersey, New York, anywhere East Coast, even parts of Pennsylvania, it's like every time I talk to them, they got a butcher shop right around the corner. It's every time, there's a butcher shop right around Frank's butcher shop, Bob's butcher shop. Everybody's got one right around the corner. Here in Minnesota, oh yeah, my cousin Bob, he's a farmer. We'll go out there and shoot one. It's a little different here. But it's like every time I talk to somebody from the East Coast, there's a butcher shop right down the road, right around the corner. It's just like it's pretty common. So
I just moved to this neighborhood a little over 2 years ago. We bought this house 3 years ago and fixed it up, and then moved in 2 years ago. And my wife's cousin lives in this neighborhood, and she said, "Oh, you got to use the butcher shop over here, Kings Park meat market." And I went in there.
Satriali's.
That's what?
Wasn't it Satriali's?
Yeah, Satriali's. No, that's in Jersey by Mark Cicino's house. He doesn't have a 55. But he's a good guy. But that place is killer. I can't even buy steak anywhere else now. I have to go there. I'm hooked.
That good.
I can only imagine those prices per pound.
Nah, worry about that.
How popular are you with the neighbors with a thumping 55 in the neighborhood? They like you, don't like you?
No, I don't ask. And bottom line is I don't care. But I try to be a good neighbor. I also ride a motorcycle, and I'm kind of at a low spot on the block, so I coast from the top of the hill down into even the car. I'll coast down. I respect my neighbors. I try to treat people with respect. I'm not always able to do that. Obviously, it's a loud car, but I keep to later in the morning. And if I'm coming home late at night, I do my best to keep it to a minimum.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, I really don't care what they think.
Okay,
I got one that. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's funny because I've had a couple of neighbors, and one of them will be like, "Man, we can hear you when that car fires up," or one lady was like, "My dishes rattle when I when you let off," and I'm like, "Yeah," I'm like, "Sorry," and she's like, "No, it really sounds good." I'm like, "Yeah," so I give her a ride in it, So, but anyway, it's all fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I was going to say, speaking of, or you say you don't care, things like that. So where you're at and where you've been, is it the Bills, the Giants, the Jets, or the Pats? Who is it?
Giants.
All right. There you go.
What about you?
Well-
Vikings? Viking fan?
Well, we're so nice here. Have you ever heard of the term Minnesota nice? Everybody's
No.
supposed to be okay here. In the Midwest, it's called Minnesota nice. Everybody says, "Oh, everybody in Minnesota is so nice." The Minnesota Vikings are so nice; they let everybody win because they don't want to hurt feelings. You know.
My wife's two aunts live there, and
All
they're
right.
both Vikings fans.
I'll
be honest with you. I'm not a big sports fan.
No.
I can't tell you. Probably maybe any of the names of the Giants right now, or the Mets, or the Yankees. I'm not. I'm more into boxing and stuff like that. Not really even into that. Drag racing, that's my sport. Stick shift drag racing.
Do you want to see Mike Tyson do a little more serious comeback fight? Or
No.
just go away?
No, listen, I think he should do whatever it is that gives him joy and excitement in his life.
Yep.
And I think we've drifted from that a little bit, letting people enjoy their lives the way they want to enjoy their lives. And I just try to, stay out of people's way.
Right.
I've tried to refine myself over the years and put a sharper tip on the spear of who I want to be. But, we've definitely drifted into an area that I don't like. And I try to just live and let live,
I like
The
the
life
way
of
you
pursuit.
put that.
Yeah,
No,
it's
I
kind of
the
like
way
that.
you put that.
Yeah,
See,
most definitely. So
everybody asks me, oh, you're gonna watch the game on Sunday. You're gonna watch this. Hey, the Vikings are playing the Packers. This and that. I once in a while will watch a Packers game because it's the rivalry, and I live right on the Wisconsin-Minnesota border, so I get to see a lot of Packers fans. So when it's Vikings-Packers week, I do put on my Vikings hat when I go shopping in Wisconsin because it just brings out a bunch of ugly people, and so I'll do that. Other than that, when people say, "Are you watching the game?" I says no, because I don't remember the last time any of them watched what I did on a Sunday. I don't have time for it. I wish people the best. I'd like to see people win. Unfortunately, after my 49 years of being alive and being a diehard Viking fan until about 40 years old, until I just couldn't take the losing anymore in the sports atmosphere. We're the state of hockey. Okay, I grew up in basically a town of 2,500 people that has put out more NHL people per capita, right? And living right on the Canadian border when I grew up. We're in the state of hockey, and yet the Wild have never even been to the Stanley Cup yet. And I'm like, it's been 25, 30 years with them. The North Stars did years ago. I said, but where's our Stanley Cup? We're the state of hockey. I said, I can't stand any of it. So I just, and then of course, once you start building a car and you realize that that's 8 hours out of your day, if not thinking about it, putting it together, ordering parts, explaining to the wife what you just ordered back and forth, it's full time.
So
Well,
did you say you were 49?
Yeah.
Probably get a lot more compliments if you up that number a little bit.
Here we go. Hey, I'm trying to hide the hair. I had to put on my ring.
Take that hat off. Go, take that hat off.
See, I'll go sideways. I'll go backwards, but it stays on.
Take that hat off. That hair doesn't make you who you are.
No, I took my shirt off at Nationals.
The guy
it was
with
too
a full
damn
head of hair.
I had the shirt off at Nationals polishing the car because it was too damn hot. So I'm good,
So
I'm good with
All right,
it.
Frank, one more. All right, I got a couple of questions. So,
Well,
boxing fan, so what do you think of the Fury 3 fight? Who do you think is going to win that fight? Or did you watch that?
I'm a little surprised he won last time, but
Yeah.
in such fashion. I think he can do it again.
I think it's a skill level part of it, to me.
I don't know. I think it's something else. I think it's something unseen. I think he's got something else going on spiritually. Yeah. I think he's fighting for a reason. Yeah, because on paper, I didn't think that was going to happen.
Do you think he lost the first fight, or do you think it was really a tie?
Yeah, hard to say. We always there's been so many fights that I thought were bullshit calls. but that one doesn't stand out. You know, that was a pretty close fight.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
These guys that are coming into the ring old now, I would honestly, I don't want to see anybody get hurt. That's the main thing, you know.
Yeah. So we kind of strayed off of sticking on the car, but that's okay. You know, we got conversation going here. So we're fast approaching. We're actually a little bit over an hour here, and I try to keep the shows around an hour. So one final question for you, Frank. What are the future plans for the car? I mean, are you looking like just stay where it's at, or are you looking to kind of jump on the bandwagon, go with a turbo or a blower? You know, is there any updates that are kind of in the skunk works? Or
Well, yeah, I'm at a crossroads now, and I'm going to be doing some serious thinking about what's next. So I don't want to tear the car up and make it light and get away from, I took the bench out, which was really, I didn't want to do that, but we made Bob made a killer setup for some aluminum racing seats, and I had them covered in the same material that the bench was covered in, which is actually a 57 material, silver cloud material and silver vinyl. That's about all I want to do as far as lightening the car. But being an NA car and trying to haul ass at 4,000 pounds is, it's not easy. It's hard on valve train parts. And so I've been thinking about what could be next. And I haven't figured it out, but my mind is open. It's time to rebuild this year. It's a freshen up year. Over this winter, I have to freshen up. So it'd be a good time for me to make that decision. The other thing is the car's not tubbed. It's mini tubbed. And I have a small tire, have a 10.5-inch tire. So, having endless horsepower, doesn't mean I'm going to go faster or have a better experience. So I can't really truly answer that question fully because let's say I add a bunch of power. I'm over 900 now. If I add, 400, 500 horsepower, it might just be the kind of car that I can only enjoy at a killer track with absolutely perfect conditions. Like this past weekend, Long Island had drag racing. Actually, last weekend and this past weekend, Saturday, I went drag racing out on Long Island for the first time in like 23 years, 24 years. We had an airstrip out there, and they turned it into an impromptu drag strip. And basically, I just smoked the tire for 660 feet. If I would have had another, 500 horsepower, I doubt I would have hooked up and did a wheelie. So my friend Glenn, he smoked the tires the entire way too. So, but listen, things are always evolving. I'm always thinking about what could be next. I have other cars that, and have young children that require a lot of attention. But either way, I don't think it would be a letdown for me to freshen up the car and go do what I do. Joe and I do these. We're not doing it this year. We're skipping drag week this year. We did the Summit Midwest Drags this year, which was a good experience. And Bill Armstrong won the stick shift class, and I was behind him. He's a really nice guy. He's got a beautiful, beautiful car. And so Joe and I set our goals to laugh our asses off and go as fast as we can. And we always accomplish that. We always have a great time. So that's about it.
Awesome. Well, that's going to about do it for us this week. I really do appreciate you coming on and joining us tonight, Frank, talking about cars, talking about culture a little bit, and, getting to know you. Joey and Craig, thank you guys for joining and co-hosting with me. Frank, we really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for joining.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Absolutely,
thanks for
Frank.
joining, and beautiful car. And
Daniel, you didn't do too much. I'd say these guys carried the show for the most part.
Well,
damn right we did.
As agreed, I'll give you my address for the check that you promised.
The check I promised. Well,
so basically what you're saying is the hardtop guys carried the show is what you're trying to say.
Yes.
Well,
That's okay.
I'm sitting here running the program and stuff, so it takes a little bit of my focus, but
Well,
So-
one last question,
Daniel,
Frank.
thanks for having me on. Yeah.
Frank, did you ever go to the Tri-5 Nationals?
No, I have not.
Have you ever
Do they
thought
have
about
cars
going
for
there?
sale there?
You got lots of cars for sale there.
I have not. I have not. I'm not much of a car show guy. I just prefer to race. I go to Super Chevy every year, and I drag race. I walk over to the car show for about a half an hour, and that's about it. I'm sure it's killer, but I have no self control.
They do have
if I
drag
go
racing.
down there, I might buy something. Oh,
right,
really?
Right. Well,
Yeah. It's at Beach Bend, actually.
What's that?
Yeah, they have classes there, and then there's a lot of fun and grudge. But they actually bring. This was my first year to have my car out, and I just did the last day because I wanted to enjoy. I didn't want to break something and not be able to drive around and cruise around in it. So I just did some, and then it rained us out. But yeah, they have classes there, and then there's a lot of fun and grudge stuff there as well. But Jeff Lutz has been there before. He's always been a guest. They got a couple of pro mods. And some pretty fast cars. There's some 200-mile-an-hour cars, and then they've got it's all quarter-mile stuff.
Kentucky, right?
Yeah,
in Kentucky.
Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Yeah, it's really, I mean it's where they have LS Fest at.
Oh yeah,
It's
I've
at
been
the
there. I
Holly.
raced there. Drag
Yeah,
went through.
yeah,
there one year.
yeah, beach. Yeah, so you the track.
Beach Bend Raceway, right?
That's it. So yeah, I mean it'd be great.
Do you like 110
got a
heat
beautiful
index?
car and
I love it. Yeah, love it.
So yeah, you ought to make
Awesome.
plans. Be nice to see some guys, some heavy hitters in the Tri-5 community to come out and
Maybe I'll
put
do
on a
that.
show out there. So a lot
Thanks
of
for
they
the
have a
invite.
wheel. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. That is our show for this week. Those in the mob, make sure to join us again next week. And those watching on YouTube, make sure to, like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure to follow us along. Thanks for joining. Talk to you guys later.
Adios.
Thanks for tuning in to Live in the Mob with your hosts, Daniel, Craig, and Joey. Special thank you to our background designer, Chad Reynolds. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you again next week.